We don't talk to one another a lot. Oh, it's okay.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. Thank you to everybody that's sent across kind words and given the podcast a listen after episode 1. This week's episode is featuring Charlie Roberts. Chaz is one of my favorite guys in the group. I think he brings great energy to trainings and game days and just makes it really entertaining for all that's involved with him. It's also good to talk to Chaz and kind of find out whether he's always been as confident and comfortable as part of the umpiring community as he is now. And then we also touch on some more serious long-term goal aspirations for him in regards to his career outside of football and his real passion for sports commentary and sports journalism. So let's get into the show. Thanks for listening. Welcome to One in the Chamber-lain podcast, an opportunity to get to know your umpires a little better. Welcome to the second episode of the One in the Chamber-lain podcast. I am joined today by the Charlie Roberts, the Hydration King, the Altona Fest King, and Patrick. Chaz, how are you going, my friend?
Oh, mate, buzzing now I'm doing this podcast. It's an absolute honour to be on here. So thank you for the invitation. I'm really looking forward to dive deep.
Mate, pleasure to have you as the second guest. Definitely wanted to get you on as soon as possible. And number 2 is no fault of your own. First guest, Ada, Mr. Consistent, had to get him on. How have you been going during COVID, mate? No umpiring season, obviously. We've all missed it. What have you been doing?
What have I been doing? It's a really good question. Well, I've sort of had my university degree, which is sport journalism course, a Bachelor of Media and Communications. I've played some PlayStation here and there. I've been going for some runs, which have been on Strava. So there's been 100-kilometre months of runs, whatever it is. So that's just sort of what's been keeping me occupied. But aside from that, it's not the same. And at times I have struggled. The mental health has been inconsistent. It's similar to why you've done the purpose of this podcast. It's because you just want to have a chat with people. And that's what I love the most about life.
Absolutely, mate. Yeah, I can definitely tell that you're a big extrovert, and losing the umpiring season and losing the ability to go see our mates has definitely taken its toll on everyone. So you're definitely not alone there. But I am glad that you brought up Strava, because I have seen that you've been keeping up the runs, mate. You've been keeping busy, and you did mention it quickly, and I do want to give you a shout out for it because it's a fair effort. So you've done 3 months in a row of 100K, mate. How's it been? How's the legs?
Yeah, look, it's been all right. Fortunately, I haven't been injured too much, but I sort of just done it for consecutive months because there's nothing better to do. And also, I've got to really do my best to try and stay fit, considering once you do go unfit for a long period of time, it takes a while to try and gain your fitness back. So that's what I've sort of been doing. And it's just a variety of different routes. I understand there's not really much improvement. It's been a bit stagnant, but it's just trying to keep it a consistent pace. Being honest. So yeah, and it's great to see other umpires being part of a Strava community too.
Good, mate. Exactly. That's definitely what I wanted to bring up. I wanted to bring up Strava. I want to talk about the club that I've put together. So it is just called the WRFL Umpires. But the thing I love about Strava, I love the running community. I love the motivation that it always does. You get on there with your group of mates and it does become that little bit of competitive. So if I can give you a shout out, Chaz, I think you're about 25 seconds quicker than me at the moment per kilometre. And then a few other boys, I know Angus Cameron, he's got a bit of pace on him. He's running at about 4-minute Ks when he's up and
You can see why he got a Division 1 grand final gig last year. I mean, he's very good.
And he hasn't lost it, mate. He hasn't lost it.
And also what's important, Dean, is that you don't want to compare yourself to other people. It's about comparing yourself from who you were from yesterday.
Literally. And that is another thing that's great about Strava. It does let you track all your runs. So you can see that improvement over a long period or even a short period. So it's definitely something worth looking at if people want to get involved. So Chaz, obviously 3 straight months of 100K. That's a lot of running. That's a lot of minutes. What are you doing while you're running? Are you listening to anything?
Yeah, look, well, it's a bit of an interesting one, this, because my Fitbit didn't really work for runs a few months back, and it doesn't do that GPS thing, which it's a function I love the most about Strava. So it's pretty obvious I had to take my phone with me. I used to have a bit of a phone arm sort of case where I'd put the phone in, but then there was a couple of times where it didn't work, so I sort of just have it in my hand. And sometime it was a month ago, I started using the AirPods, but one was falling out, one of the AirPods. But for what I listen to, it's a good question. So I'll go for a run 3 times a week, and for walks, I go for 4 times. It's mostly the same route. I just sort of go in, out, a bit reverse, and all over the shop, do some shake and bakes. But yeah, so what I listen to on my runs is, because I've played FIFA since FIFA 13. I used to like to gather some of the tracks from each of the FIFA series, and FIFA 21's about to approach, I think, tomorrow. And all I do is I pick my top 50 favourite FIFA songs, shabam it all into a playlist, and just listen to it as I go. Because I don't want to hear these stupid daily drive news breaks while I'm on a run. I want to make sure it's good pump-up music. So that's what sort of keeps me pumping. And it's all about trying to keep a consistent breath and working as hard as you can from the start to the end of a song and just carry on.
Very good, mate. I love that. FIFA tracks is something that would be much better at a training track for us. I am not a big FIFA man like you, but I did play, I think it was the 2008 World Cup on the Wii, and yeah, they had some bangers, so I can see why it's something that interests you. But look, enough of that, mate. Let's get on to why we're here. Let's hear about you as an umpire. So if I can reel off a couple of your achievements to date. So you've started in 2015. You've done 3 grand finals, with the highest being a Division 1 Resi's grand final, and you have been a boundary umpire the entire time. So how about we get started with how you got started as an umpire and how come you eventually landed on boundary umpiring?
It's a good question, actually, because it was from my friend who's Kai Smith-Pycroft, who I work on my channel, which we'll get to later on. So he persuaded me to get into umpiring. I think it was in 2014, and I decided to join in 2015. And in my first year, I also played for Yarraville Seven Eagles, which we won the premiership in the under-16s against our owners. So it used to be umpiring on a Saturday morning and then playing footy on a Sunday. But now that's sort of been reinverted into my part-time job, which is we'll get to in a bit. So yeah, he sort of got me into it. He started boundary in 2014, and then he elevate himself to the field. And so start in 2015 on the boundary. And then, as the years progress, I just sort of felt, you know what? What's the point of trying to give up on a discipline you've started? You're just going to lose all your hard work for nothing. So that's why I sort of stuck on the boundary. And it's one of those ones where you sort of get the less stick, but as well, you're still involved in the game, and there's a lot of running involved. I'm a very active sort of person. I just want to go shifting up and down the wing. So there you go. And why I do it, I think it's just because I've created a good bond with a lot of people, and it's just something that I'll do on a Saturday afternoon to keep me occupied.
Good, mate. Yeah, got a lot of respect for the boundary umpires. I know we give a little bit of flack between the teams. Goalies don't do nothing, and boundaries just stick to the white lines. But the kilometres you blokes pick up on a Saturday afternoon is no feat to be laughed at. So good on you, mate, for sticking with it the entire time. So you mentioned why give up a discipline when you've already kind of picked up a bunch of learnings. Do you want to maybe touch on some of the major times where you have had to learn from the experience? So maybe some coaches' feedback or something similar?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, there was a couple of instances. The major one I had was in 2015 at a match at North Footscray. I think it was reserves just about to start the seniors, and it was 3/4 time, and I was on a three umpire system with, it was one of the umpires I started with, and who's actually Kai's older cousin, Ollie Shepherd. And we were someone else that day too. And throughout the whole game, we did the 3 umpire system the wrong way around. We just all stuck on the same sides we did. And it was 1/4. Each of us umpires would just do the onside and we'd stick fair.
Oh, okay. However, I thought you meant all 3 of you were on the one side, mate. I'm like, yeah, you're definitely stuffing up there. No, I'm with you.
So it's just the same person sticking on the same side the whole quarter. However, what I found out, because was Donna that came and tried to lecture us at 3/4 time, and to be honest, it was a good explanation. It was a good wake-up call, and she told us properly how to do it. And from that day, it sort of woke me up thinking, all right, this is how I've got to do it, and if I really want to go further, I've got to execute this properly. Yep. And there was another one too. I think it was last year or a year before. We all know Dimmer well. There was a bit of a spray at 3/4 time at not a spray, because I know he's a field umpire coach, but he's
my coach. You don't have to worry about upsetting me, mate. Don't worry, I'll upset him.
He sort of instructed us boundaries to try and do better in supporting the field umpires, because there was a melee going on and there was a ball that was meant to be collected because someone kicked a goal. And us boundary umpires, I think we're just too stagnant at the time, and we didn't really pick up. We weren't really keeping an eye on the melees, and Dimmer was a bit disappointed in us, and it was a lot of responsibility left to be filled. So that was also another day where I knew that you've got to help the umpires at all costs and just keep an eye on any of those little busting nudges.
Yeah, no, good, mate. It's good to hear about, especially teamwork in that second one. I know I've had a couple of experiences with reports where I've gotten the majority of the instance and I'm probably missing maybe a player or a number here and there, and the boundaries have chopped me out. And yeah, we always greatly appreciate that. So it's good to be working as a team. So similar to learnings, one question I really want to ask every podcast episode here is everybody's worst decisions. So now I know it's a little bit different for boundary umpires because you don't have as many to make, but it doesn't mean they're not as important, mate. So worst decision you've ever paid, take it away.
Yeah, so there's been two, but you could say similar, both similar decisions. There was a final one year, which Leo knew well, where someone kicked the ball out and from a goal square and it bounced before the boundary line, but because it's sort of technically on the full, it's actually out on the full because no one touched it prior to it going out. So what did I call it? I think I called it a throw-in, even though it was meant to be out on the full, because that's the laws of the game. And there was one, I think it was Parkside against Point Cook Centrals. It was Heath Grundy's team, where one of the Point Cook Central players kicked it out and it bounced, and then it went sort of out of bounds, but no one touched it. It was from the kick in, and I called it, I think it was a boundary throw-in. However, it was meant to be out on the full. When it got to half time, because this is at Albion, I think it was one of the finals last year, I just knew, geez, I've actually made a poor decision here. I wonder, and at the day, it was Craig Gurry was actually observing us. So it's like, shit, what's he going to say to me at half time if I just cost myself a grand final in a decent division or in something? So, but he didn't really seem too fazed by it, about it, if I'm being honest. So
just
sort of
a red
on.
cross in the notebook, mate. You don't always get told about them. But look, anytime you make a mistake when you're umpiring a Heath Grundy team, you're always going to be in big trouble, mate. He is an absolute superstar of the league. And I hope he's listening. But yeah, he definitely loves giving us a spray when we're out in the field.
Absolutely.
So you would have been lucky to get away with that one.
Absolutely, I was, yeah.
So moving on, I was looking in the dictionary overnight because I did want to put together a word of how best to describe you. The best I could come up with was eccentric, and I really like the word eccentric because I think it does sum you up very well. A couple of things that I think are eccentric about you: the mullet, first and foremost, love it. You've had it for 2 years now, and then just some
July last year,
okay, a year and a bit. And you've also just your attitude, mate, is absolutely fantastic, and you never stop chatting. So a story I have been fed from one of your boundary umpires is that you commentate games while you're umpiring. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, to be honest, it's true actually. I don't know if it's on the other side of the field.
Yep.
And I don't know where there's the ball up, and I just sort of say to myself, geez, a huge stoppage here. I want to see who tries to get the ball. And then you see the ball just coming my way. It's like, oh shit, I've got to really backpedal here. So, yeah, I don't know. I sort of do that with that sort of commentary sort of thing because I just take notice of commentary, and I actually quite like just watching people, commentators, and I love commentators that have a bit of humorous side about it, which we'll get to later on, obviously. But yeah, it's just a knack of me, I guess.
Mate, you'd be the worst to umpire with when we've got the comm system on. I can only imagine hearing your voice in my ear throughout the entire quarter. But look, it might make it entertaining for you boundary umpires just following the white line. So it's probably good to have. But yeah, you absolutely are a bundle of energy on the track, mate, night in, night out. I know that many of us have crossed paths with you, and there's always a quick-witted joke or just a little comment, and I definitely love that about you. But I want to get into whether this has always been the case. So I see you now 5 years into umpiring, seemingly confident as ever, having the greatest laughs night in, night out. Has that always been the case, mate?
Not from an umpiring industry, no, because I remember when I first got there, because if I acted like that when I started in 2015, everyone would think I'm an absolute clown or an idiot. So I just sort of have to focus on my own business, and I had was a little small group of friends when I started, which was Kai and a couple of others who were doing it. So I was just sort of carrying on my business. But yeah, no, not particularly. And how it sort of pans out a bit, it's just because I sort of do training drills with different people, start to get to know people's names, which does help. And what as well was a really good assistance was last year being at the social events, because in the first 4 years of my umpiring, I didn't attend a social event because I reckon I got peer pressured by others, like it's not worth going, all that such. But last year, going to that trivia night was at Ham Reserve and the end of season function, just got to know a bit more about other people, which is fantastic. And you sort of get your regulars and your rotational sort of other umpires you umpire with on the weekend. And after a period of time when you see them, you've just got to feel a need. It's like, oh, I really want to get to know this person as well. I mean, one thing is to try and work with him on the field, but also if you get on the other side of it, which is the social side, then it just enhances the bond.
No, good, mate. I love hearing people talk about that because I think that is an absolutely fundamental thing of umpiring that's really difficult. I was super lucky. I started umpiring with Tommy Harrison. Tommy and I went to school together, and we also were at the McKillop Academy with Seamus and Cammy, who also went to school with us. So I was really lucky to come in with that immediate friendship group. And it's always good to hear about other people like yourself who might start with somebody and have your friend quit and move along. And then it's that decision of do you love it enough to keep going? And then as we see with you, mate, you've now got a fantastic little tight-knit group. And if you gave that up 4 years ago, that'd never be the case. So it's good to hear attending social functions, the big presentations, and even the smaller ones throughout the year, the trivia nights. That's really fantastic. But yeah, speaking of fitting in and speaking about boundary umpires, me as a field umpire, definitely senses like the culture of the boundary guys is good at the moment. So it looks like there's good retention through the senior ranks. It looks like we are getting consistent blokes back, blokes and girls that really enjoy what they do. And that's fantastic for me to see. How do you feel that the vibe is kind of around the group at the moment?
No, it's really good, actually. I remember, I'd say the turning point of when I knew it was a decent culture from boundary umpires is because we're sort of doing a throwing drill. And I wasn't doing that great. But you know how there's umpires, but there's also humans out there and in the sporting fields that could somewhat be a bit selfish about themselves and not be willing to help others. But there was this one time where I think it was Scotty Vanstone. It sort of came up to me. It's like, I think it's time. It wasn't really saying such as this, but he was willing to help me get better with my boundary throws. And there was also the early days of Jordan Wiltshire, who was also one of the first people I met when I started in 2015. So it just seems all the boundary umpires want to get the best out of each other and all are willing to help. So that's how it sort of goes. And, when there's drills and it's sort of partnering up and all that such, we sort of like to have a variety so we get to know more about each other. So it's just a willingness to help out.
Yeah, no, I love that. That's a brilliant quote, willingness to help out. Chaz Roberts. I like it. It's good to hear about those senior blokes, especially though, like Scotty, Les, Jordan back in the day. I think he is with the VFL now. Blokes that are really good at their craft and, passing on that to the future blokes. And now we got guys like you who are bloody good umpires, which is really good to see. But another facet of that is coaching. So Marie and Craig, boundary coaches, how are they?
Yeah, they're really good actually. Of course, you got to have a fine line between being firm and friendly, and they're just fantastic. And what is really good about them too, it's not that we've changing boundary umpire coaches every year. So we sort of stuck with the same ones. I think for the last 3 or 4 years, I might be wrong in saying that. And as well, Les has been a fantastic addition too. He's bringing that different personality and as well coming from a VFL background. Especially, I love Les's type of throw. However, it shit scares me every time I rock up to training when I'm trying to receive an NFL type one. But no, he's good. They're all down to earth people. They want the best out of the boundary umpires. So it's fantastic. Those three are.
It's good to hear that Les is helping people out in the 10 minutes he's on the track, because 10 minutes in, his hammy's a bit sore and he's back in the rooms. That's what I noticed. So.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But yeah, touching on coaches, you say there's a good line between firm and friendly. Where do you put on the line Marie calling you Patrick?
Calling me Patrick, yeah. So there's this one time at training on a Tuesday where we were sort of coming out we finished the training drill, we're trying to gather up and Marie wanted to talk about it. And I think she was trying to call my name for a question. And then she said Patrick. And then I was just so puzzled why she said it. And then she said, oh, it's Charlie. It's like, and then everyone just kept laughing. I was just puzzled. why have you called me this? It's like, oh, I got you mixed up with another person that I know that looks like you. So
Maybe a
yeah, I
compliment
couldn't
then,
believe
mate.
it.
Maybe a compliment.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So no, I heard you got that from Andy, and yeah, he loves a bit of that, digging from the archives. So no, yeah, sometimes I get Cursor Patrick, but there you have it.
Many names, one man. Look, moving sideways. I
Yeah.
was lucky enough to be a part of this in joke. So Altona Fest.
Yes.
We give it a bit of a wrap up on most training sessions. Where did it originate from? Tell us about Altona Fest.
Love to hear it. All right. So I still got the camera roll, the image on my camera roll still. So Altona
Might have to
versus
dig that
Sunshine.
up.
Yeah, well, yeah. Late in the home and away season in season 2019, back when footy actually was going on. And why it was the Altona Fest? Well, it was a cold day. The weather was sort of overcast / cloudy. And there was this one time, quarter time, where I don't know how coincidentally all the big coaches were there. It was Sutton, Dimmer, Mark Westgarth, Marie. There must have been 3 for the field umpires for some reason. And it just seemed all the coaches were there at the same time. And it's just, what is this world come to? It's just Altona's got everyone involved today. So it was just unbelievable. And I know you were involved as a field umpire that day. And then there was Leo, Nicky Van Scoten and all that such.
Great team.
And then I think where it sort of sparked was full time. I was just getting a bit peckish. I mean, I was just, I was asking whether, no, yeah, that's all right. One of our Altona was it canteen people.
Yep.
They must have approached me, or I went to them.
You come into the
They
room.
said,
She came into the rooms.
yeah, I did, yeah. And there was some leftover food. And it's like, oh, geez, I'm better get some stuff from the canteen and just deliver it into the change rooms. And then everyone just kept snacking onto it. It was unbelievable. So I just kept grabbing back for more. And that's where it's sort of Altona Fest really started.
Mate, I loved it. I was from the get-go of the day, you were just in this fine form and you were like, the day's good. And then as soon as the coaches rocked up, you're like, Altona Fest is born. This is a big day. The game was nothing. I'm pretty sure. I think we discussed it might have been Sunshine.
Altona spanked him, yeah.
Yeah, it was a shocking game. But the day was ripper. And then to finish it off with the absolute feast from the canteen, I reckon, I don't know how you fit that much in your hands, mate. You came back with 3 buckets of chips, a couple of dimmies, and yeah, we did. We put it to bed real fast. And so that is definitely the beauty of Altona Fest. Fingers crossed that carries over into season 2021, mate, because that was an absolute highlight of my umpiring career for sure.
That's great.
But look, plenty of footy chat. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
We'll finish off with kind of where you see your boundary umpiring going, kind of what your aspirations are, what your goals are. So grand finals, VFL, maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, so with aspirations, I've got to try and keep it realistic. Firstly, it's about getting to Division 1, the seniors grand final. That would be nice. However, I understand the fitness needs a bit of a lift. I should probably neck 1.25 litres of lift myself and try and boost
good.
And just cop a lift.
Easy fix.
And then, I don't know, maybe just get a look into the VFL, but I can't really put my... It's good to have your eyes up in the sky, but at the same time, just trying to be... I'm a realist. Sometimes I am. So there you go with umpiring, but it's just sort of about having fun. And I'm just keen to stay in this industry for a foreseeable future.
No, it's good to hear, mate. And yeah, speaking about being a realist, seeing the running you've been doing in the off season, if you keep that up, there's absolutely no reason why you can't go on and do higher grades, doing Division 1. Resi's grand final already. That's already the 3rd tier, so you're not too far off. You are a regular in the senior ranks, which has really been good. But you did mention one other goal that you might have had, and that was an interview with 88.9 and Pepe Cavalieri. Yeah. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so look, I just see the caravan sometimes there. And
match of the day,
Their match of the day, half time. And, me, just like you do now, we're always just down for a chat with anyone. And I don't know, if something happens where at half time I just want to speak to an interview prior to a seniors game, I'll just be happy to just talk about the game, bring in some insight and see what's coming ahead. And I don't know, just some questions about how my career goes. And I just want to, I don't know, bit of me time. I don't mind a little bit, just a little bit.
Good, mate. No, that's fine. Look, I reckon I connected with Kristen Alabascus on LinkedIn yesterday, so I might be able to send her the audio from this. And I reckon she's got some pull within the WFL, so you might be able to get yourself featured on an episode next year.
Isn't she the media manager?
She's the media manager, yeah, but I'm sure she's got
Wow.
the ins with Pepe Cavalieri and the radio team, mate. Don't worry about it.
You need to calm down.
G'day, guys. We're back again with the Hotel 520 multi. Once again, the multi this week equals $5.25. Let's go ahead and get into the legs. It's a 4-leg multi, and we've put it on the Port Adelaide v Richmond match. Now, Richmond have kind of been the benchmark of the league the last few years, and I'm backing them in once again to reach the grand final. I've got Richmond head-to-head. I'm expecting a high-scoring game. The last Port Adelaide-Richmond game was full of flair and full of excitement, so I've got over 120 points, and then I've also got Dusty and Jack Rewalt kicking a goal. So this is going to pay out about $26, and today I'm going to have a look at the menu, and I'm feeling pizza. So I might go ahead and get myself a Mexicana for $15, and you know what? I might even be feeling dessert. We're going to go the Nutella and marshmallow pizza as well.
Remember the 2 V's, verbal and visual.
Look, plenty good footy chat there, Chaz. Really enjoyed hearing about your experience from start till today, and yeah, some absolute ripper stories in there. But we might shift gears and take it to the second section of this podcast, which is all about getting to know you. So this is one, well, I did want to get you on especially because I don't reckon I'd asked you a cent about your personality outside of umpiring until preseason this year. So I've enjoyed getting to know you over the last couple of days, and I can't wait to share that with the rest of the team. So we'll get started. Currently got a part-time job, mate. Obviously, umpiring is great. Doesn't necessarily pay the bills. So you're working at a kids' play centre, is it?
Yeah, a kids' play centre. It started off at Inflatable World in 2015 in September because, as you say, the same person that got me into umpiring, Kai Smith-Pycroft. And then I later transferred into Rabbit Hole Play Centre, which was started up back in January 2018, and I had a manager there, and there was a few others from Inflatable World, and they sort of transferred me over, and someone sent me a message one night saying, hey, well, I think you've done a really good job at Inflatable World. Would you be interested in the position at the new and upcoming play centre in Rabbit Hole? So, I mean, this is also, it's interesting because I've sort of kept in the occupations where Kai's brought me into, but he's been the first one that's left both departments, which is an interesting one. So I've been at Rabbit Hole since 2018, and I enjoy it. But there was a time where I really got the hardest, and that is the kids' play centre. So it can be a bit, it's hard work sometimes, but I enjoy it. Just getting to know everyone and just an extrovert sort of type activity. I've seen a couple down there. I think I saw Greg one time. I saw Abby, and I think that's about it. But I'll tell you this: there was one time I remember the date well. It was 11th of October 2015 on a Sunday. Inflatable World. It was some kid's birthday party, and it was his 6th one, and he was just acting all weird, and he wasn't obeying to my instructions, and he was just pushing in front of everyone, and I got really sick. And this is the day I learned where you've really got to be calm and compose yourself in front of children. And this day I went absolutely full mental with him, and I sort of shouted. and then the grandmother of the kid, she gave me the biggest almighty fright afterwards. I needed to take a time out. So yeah, look, it wasn't great that moment, but it was a big lesson learned. So there you have it. And yeah, that's just sort of what I do. Another part of what I do on weekends. So
good.
It's good.
There's a few of us in the umpiring ranks that come from kids' play centres. Tommy used to work at one, got me in, got Noah in. So, mate, I don't know what it is, whether it's if you guys got jumping castles, trampolines. It might be good on the legs, but, geez, there's a few fit blokes coming out of the back of kids' play centres. But, look, moving on to something a bit more long-term. So you're obviously at university as well. You brought it up before. You're doing a sports journalism course. Maybe start on, how you kind of decided that's what you wanted to study at the back of high school.
Sure. All right. Well, I'd say that I'll pinpoint the moment. It was 2014. I was in the car on the way back from a little athletics session. I think it was because we sort of had it on a weekday, and it was on a Wednesday night early in 2014. And I was with one of my friends family friends who was a manager of, which was, actually, no, I forgot the athletics club's name, but it was one of them.
Yep.
And we were trying to give her a lift back home. And she sort of asked me, and my mum was also in the car too because she was driving. So they sort of asked me, so Charlie, what do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, you know what? I want to be a sports journalist. And they sort of asked why. And I said, because I love sport and I love talking about it. And I love the arts and crafts of trying to write a match report. So that's how I started. 2015, I'll go into now. So this is what I mentioned to you beforehand. It's sort of a bit of a start of a road to doing sports reports in front of a large crowd. So I reckon this was probably the 16th of the 23rd of October, 2015. And the teachers gave us a heads up prior to the term 3 holidays that the students should take over, because we all had a community meeting every Friday where there's a report on the memo. And because we were sort of a Catholic-based sort of school, we had a prayer, sports reports, and upcoming events around the school. So there's 4 different people that had different roles. There was one week where I sort of did the memo, and I don't know, and then the next week they sort of rotate me around and they put me on a sports report one week. And I did it one week, and then the teacher said, how did you find it? I said, yeah, it's really good. Can I give it another go next week? And then he said, yeah, sure, which was actually my Year 8 program leader at the time. His name's Colin Edwards. And from there, I sort of did it for the rest of the year. And then it was 2016 where I did a sports report duty. So I did the actual sports report in itself, where it was a Year 9 Balaclava campus in front of a large amount of Year 9 students. And I'm not going to lie, mate, I got booed off most of the time, but it's just the way it is. But some
character
loved it.
building, character building.
Yeah, it was character building, yeah, and I did look a bit of a fool myself, but it was just about trying to get exposure in front of a large audience. So I did that throughout the whole entire 2016 year, and then 2017, there was one time where Kai sent me a message alongside, it was a Marcus, and it was Kai's idea, and he says, should we set up a footy page just like Success to Football? It's like, yeah, sure, no worries, we'll give it a go. So there you have it. I sort of started with Marcus, and then he got a bit of a spray from Kai on one of his posts that he did back heading into the 2017 grand final, which was, he wasn't a fan of. And yeah, so it's been with Kai for probably the last 2 years, but Marcus is still a name.
Yeah, good. So that way, let's backtrack here, mate. You've moved on. You've done very well. So sports journalism was inspired from doing these sports reports.
I'm doing the long way.
Loving the match reports. You've got your exposure in front of big groups, and then you just dropped it in there very subtly. So you have a Facebook page, for those that don't know, called Obsessed with Footy. So what it is that you and now Kai perform, your match reviews, your upcoming games, and then I've seen you guys do live reactions to post
live streams after a game.
Yeah, they're bloody good because there's plenty of emotion in those, especially after a big Santas game. Or I know Kai gets pretty worked up when North put up another deliberating performance. But yeah, so let's touch on that properly. So you've been doing it for how many years now? You've been doing it since 2017.
2017, yeah.
Yep. And it's just something that you really enjoy. It's a good kind of media for you to get that initial sports review kind of in a social context, because obviously that's not part of your university degree. You're just doing that on your own.
Yeah, so I just do it as my own, just have a bit of fun, just have a conversation about footy with a good mate of mine. So there you go.
Definitely a good listen. No, I've been on it for the last year, so I've been tuning in, listening to all the doggy stuff, which has been good. I have been given the heads up that you did season reviews, and you've given Adelaide's season a C.
You got that from Leo, didn't you?
Leo, mate, did let me know.
Yeah, so look, I've copped smack ever since, but I'll give you a justification one day. Well, I went from F to E because I won one game or more, and then E to D because I thought their home ground advantage was not too bad, and people think, and then D to C because the coaches have got a bald head. So
okay, free point for a bald head.
Yeah, so I mean, but now looking back on it, I really should have given him an F, or if I was going to be nice, an E. So
yeah, look, by the rating system you've done, mate, 6 matches equals an A. So I think most of the clubs in the competition would be getting A's otherwise. So yeah, you might have to revisit your rating system. But look, I love your reviews. Your reviews are very good. And speaking of that, you have reached out to somebody within the WRFL. You're looking to do, and I know you can't talk on it that much because it's something that's coming up, but you're looking to do a little report in relation to season 2020.
That's right. Yeah. So because there's an assignment during one of my semester 2 subjects, which is the emerging journalists, and it's sort of writing a feature article on something that I'm really passionate about.
Yep.
So I heard some people were doing like their local football leagues, and I thought, you know what, WRFL, I'll be interested to know how the pandemic has affected the Western Region Football League. So yeah, I was in touch, did touch base recently with the CEO and Matthew Duck, and he provided some really good insights. I sort of look at how this blank season has an effect on the league, sort of a league, and then looking at it from a club perspective too. So it's just something that I'm interested really. So
No, good mate. Fantastic exposure. So I'm
good.
looking forward to getting that out there. Good on you for taking the initiative. As much as it was a uni assignment, it's good on you reaching out and networking with the league. So good on you.
That's right. Yeah.
So look, plenty more media. You're in and around
Love
it
it.
all the time. So you've also featured on Hawks TV as a
Fan
Saints
TV.
supporter. What was that one about?
Yeah, so it's an interesting one because Leo and I, we love to attend some Hawthorn St Kilda games head-to-head at Marvel Stadium, and Leo is a regular as a Hawks man himself, and I just go on when we're playing the Hawks just as a Saints man, just because you'd love to get a bit of insight from opposition supporters, so I thought I'd get on and, I don't know, just sort of put myself out there, have a bit of a say in the game. I do think I look like a bit of a fool at times, but I don't mind it. It's good. It's just good entertainment. I just want to sort of get involved, get out there. So, no, it is good fun. But it was inspired by Leo, that idea. And,
very good, mate.
yeah, I just love tuning in. It's good.
No, very entertaining. I did. I listened to it. I
Yeah.
tried to play it at the Umpires Awards last year, but the sound didn't really get up to the volume that I wanted it. But yeah, it was a good listen. But look, you've done more than that because you love keeping yourself busy. Very recently, spotted by Tommy Harrison on the weekend.
Yeah.
You featured on SEN with Dwayne Russell. Now,
That's
Dwayne,
right.
Dwayne is one of your favourites, mate. I hear you could be a little bit obsessed with the man.
Yeah, look, some might say that, but when I got Foxtel back in 2009, and there was just a commentator that stood out to me. It's just because he has his creative puns. He's got a humorous side of it, whereas with BT, it sort of says the same thing over and over, like boy, oh boy, where we. But with this, you sort of find some surnames, you add some analogies and all that such. So, yeah, look, what I did I'll get back to that thing too. I found a mate from my uni course, and he rates Dwayne Russell's humour too. So that's why I sort of just want to blossom that love back and all that such. And yeah, so I went on Monday, I talked about the Saints on Midday Madness on 11:16, and no, it was good fun because I listen to it sometimes, and people just ring up, and it's just talkback radio. So it's as simple as that. And I don't know, just because my mate insisted me you should ring up Dwayne's World, just have a say on something. So I did, and it turned out to be all right according to some. And yeah, I mean, during ISO too, because I got really bored. I found a bingo card on Twitter, printed it out, and then I found all these really weird sayings that he says during the games, like, a bit of little dance step, let the acid test begin. How good was that?
What's your favourite? Give us your favourite.
My favourite, geez, it's a bit of a tough one, but
there's many, but give us a couple.
All right, I'll give you one, which I don't know why he does it, but he classified 10th place Western Bulldogs against 5th place West Coast as the top of a table clash.
Debatable.
Yeah, it's debatable, yeah.
Bontempelli's goal towards the end of the game was, inspiring, and I know you love Bontempelli, but I wouldn't have called it a top of the table clash before the start of the game.
Oh, exactly right, yeah. I don't know why he even called it a quarter time. So...
look, good mate. It's something that I love to hear about you featuring here and there. Your resume is certainly building on being online or being on radio. So I can't wait to see where you go. Another one that is a certainly unique intro is Brett Kirk's Saturday afternoon footy intro. I've heard you give it a bit of a spiel on Facebook. Can you recite it for me now? Do you know it off by heart?
Look, I'll give it a shot. Thanks, Basil. I just want to give you an insight into the Saturday afternoon team. We're a bunch of unique individuals. Malthouse, Harley, Zemplis, McLaughlin, and myself. We're going to engage our minds and our hearts. We're going to exchange ideas, thoughts, and even our energy. And to speak from the heart, you need to have courage. You need to be honest and authentic. We're not always going to get it right. And sometimes you're not going to agree with us. But that's okay. Because just like you, we care. Just like you, we're passionate about the game. So if you want to come along for a ride, join us on Saturday Arbos because we just love for footy.
Mate, that is unreal. Seriously, the fact that you can recite that. I don't know if you might have had the lyrics up behind or something like that. But geez, that's a piss
No,
up.
I didn't know. No,
That's
I've
very
watched
good,
it
mate.
that many times. Yeah.
Look, I'm sure you've dealt a few of those in your time as well. So good on Brett
Yeah.
Cooper having a crack. Look, we'll touch on sport for a little bit. Obviously, being a massive
to.
Sainers fan. Other sports you enjoy your EPL, you like Arsenal.
Yeah.
The NBA, you're a Miami Heat fan, which is super debatable.
2 out of 10. 2 out of 10 rating that. Yeah.
2 out of 10.
Yeah, 2 out of 10. Yeah, just a bit of a casual follower.
Oh, okay,
I'm
fair
not a
enough.
man
Yep,
that watches a lot of games, so
yeah, fair enough. But the interest is there. How are you feeling about St Kilda this week? Obviously beat my doggies in the elimination final on the weekend, just by the 3 points. So how do you think you're going to go against Richmond?
Yeah, look, it's going to be an extraordinarily tough task considering they're bringing most likely to bring in back Tom Lynch, and we've got 3 key players out, so that doesn't bring any optimism, to say the least. I do expect Richmond to win. However, all I want from this game is to just give it a crack. I just don't want to get belted by 10 goals. It's sort of a free hit. That's what Kai said on Obsessive Footy just earlier on. So There you go.
No, it's good. It's good to see you guys get some final success. Obviously, been a few years in between journeys. Do you have much recollection of the 2010 grand final and grand final replay then?
Yeah, look, I remember the exact spot where I saw Heath Shaw smother Nick Rewalt. I mean, we have sort of grand final parties hosted at household every year, and back when it was Saints, because I just really hated the background noise, so I went into a different room, watched the Saints game, and then when I saw that Shaw smother, it's like, oh my god, it's just the beliefs being crushed, and I sort of knew it was over within that moment, and considering the momentum of the game. So yeah, look, people love to bring it up, and if that's what they want to do, considering they've got nothing better to do in their life, and right over. Yeah.
All right. Moving on.
Yes.
Look, last one, Chaz, that I've got for you is you were a part of the Beyond Blue footy match between the umpires and the Fireys last year.
Yeah.
But you were involved a little bit differently, mate. So you did mention earlier about the under 16s grand final. So I'm disappointed to hear that you didn't play, because we might have been able to use you, but we loved having you as the official hydration king. You put on a little kit. Tell us about that. What was that about?
Yeah, look, I knew I wanted to come down for the day, but I wasn't really sort of keen to play, because I remember the last time I played a game of footy was school footy for CVC against Parade, and I got pinged for holding the ball twice in the last 5 minutes of the game and costed our side to win. So that's why I knew, you know what, my footy days are over here. So what I did, I sort of wanted to help out in a way. I didn't really want to spectate. I wasn't so sure what the water duties were for the day, but I knew there was a lot of little kids. But I don't know what I found. I just found random clothes in my wardrobe and just sort of slap it on as a hole-in-one. And
there was a swim cap, wasn't there?
It was a swim cap, I think there was some sunnies. That was my VC tie, some night
tie, that's
shorts.
right, yep.
Yeah.
And the long sleeve blue shirt or jumper, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Look, if I can get a snippet of it, and I'm sure I will be, it might even make its way to being the clip of the podcast, because I do love that photo. I think it's exceptional. But yeah, geez, it was good having you on the day, mate. Obviously, a fantastic day to be a part of, and it's great to hear that you wanted to be a part of that, even though you weren't playing.
Could I also give, was it just a kudos to the idea, because I know he sets it up every year, but also to the Fireys and for Dimmer for organising the event too. So I just wanted to give a huge kudos to him in doing something, because it's a fantastic initiative.
Yep. No, I agree with you completely, mate. And yeah, more important than ever, next year's will be excellent, given year 2020 has been a massive struggle for all of us. But look, what hasn't been a struggle is chatting with you today, mate. I have had an absolute blast, plenty of laughs.
Have you got what you wanted?
I've got more than I wanted, mate. Seriously, some of the stories that have come across were completely unexpected, and a few of the stuff the boys let me know about you was brilliant. And I reckon I know you better than ever, and that was my goal at the start of today, mate. So anything you want to say?
No, I just want to say thank you for having me on. There's just nothing better in life than having a chat with someone, and I'm happy to dwell deep and provide some context into some really interesting storylines. But yeah, there you go.
Only call what Granny would see in the grandstands.
Thanks for listening to the second episode of the One in the Chamberlain podcast. Just a reminder to everybody out there listening to please share this with your mates, and let's try and create as much engagement as possible, because the more people involved, the more people we can talk to, the more people we can talk to the podcast about, the more enjoyable it becomes for all of us. Another reminder to please get on the Strava page and join WRFL umpires in the club section, and even join us on Instagram. I figured we're about 5 to 10 years too late to jump in on the social media bandwagon, and I've finally brought the WRFL to the platform and hope to get much more engagement with all of the association members through there. Thanks again, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
See you on the track.